everyone, and welcome back to House 67 Productions, our Philadelphia Sports Roundtable. I'm your host, Jason Fridge, joined tonight with my lovely co-host, Mr. Ryan Chybinski, to my left, and Miss Sam Taddei to my right. Guys, it has been a great week to be a Philadelphia sports fan. Ryan, how about them fighting Phils?
Absolutely. The 2-0 victory in Game 1. Home runs by Harper and Schwarber got what we want. And we got Schwarber Fest, too, from Wawa. Can't go wrong with that. Schwarber hits bombs during Hoagie Fest, and now we've got Schwarber Fest.
And not only a bomb, but an absolute nuke that he hit. 488 feet all the way out into deep right field. Sam, what was your reaction when you saw that ball leave the ballpark?
Just like Harper's. I think I had the same face. It flew off the bat at 119 miles an hour. It's crazy, and it was actually the hardest hit homer recorded in MLB postseason history, which is insane.
It's also the longest home run hit at Petco Park as well, which surprised me because the ball usually travels out there in San Diego, because that stadium really channels the wind towards the outfield, so it seems like that ball seems to fly. So seeing that 488 feet is the longest home run hit in that park really surprises me, honestly.
And you mentioned the ball flying, and that's exactly what happened in Game 2. A big defensive game in Game 1 from the Phillies held the Padres scoreless, the 2-0 victory. They came in on Wednesday to Game 2, and the bats were flying left and right. On both sides, the Phillies just jumping out to a 4-0 lead. Ryan, what was the big thing that really went well for the Phillies in that first part of the game?
They were hitting early. That was the biggest thing. That's something we've talked about with this roster the entire year, is the ability to get these bats hot and get the bats swinging, because we went out and got all these big sluggers in the offseason. You got Castellanos, you got Schwarber, and, you called up Stott. You called up all these players that can swing the bat, and they can swing the bat hard, but they haven't been doing it consistently this year, and getting hits is the biggest key. Getting on base, you need to do it to win a playoff series.
And Sam, they did jump out to a big lead there, but unable to hold on to it for very long. The Padres coming out in the fifth and really lighting it up. How are we going to see some of those dynamics of this Padres team? They showed that they can score, so the Phillies really have to dominate on the defensive end if they want to stay in this series.
100%. One thing about this Phillies team that we've been saying for a while now is that they are not consistent at the plate. If they don't find a balance where they're not just hitting in the first few innings or the last few innings, they have to be hitting throughout the whole entire game, this team, or else the Padres are really just coming and going to sweep this whole series.
Although the series is shifting in a big way for the Phillies as they come back home to Citizens Bank Park. The first NLCS game held in Philly since 2010. Ryan, what are you expecting here in Game 3? It's going to be Ranger Suarez hitting the plate for the Phils. Are they going to have a big bounce-back game? How's the vibe going to be there at the Link?
First off, the bank is going to be absolutely rocking. You saw it in the NLDS. The bank was full, and it was hard to play. Imagine that. It's going to be on steroids. And then if they make it to the next round, oh my goodness, don't even get me started. But Ranger Suarez needs to calm himself down. He needs to be consistent. He needs to hit the strike zone, get through the first 6 batters, give up a hit, maybe 2. That'll be all right. But we need to get through the first 6 batters clean without any problems, and then we can go from there and let the offense take the front seat.
Sam, what are you expecting here in this home opener for the NLCS? So the Phillies going to bounce back in a big way?
I hope so. Teams coming into play at the Citizens Bank Park, it's very hard for teams to win when playing in Philly. So that's a huge advantage for us there. But like I said before, the bats have to be going for the Phillies for us to be able to compete and keep up with the Padres. Looking back at the first game of this series, you really have to give that whole entire game to Wheeler. He pitched an awesome game, 3 hits the whole entire game. But looking at yesterday's game, we were not hitting the ball and the Padres were. So at the end of the day, I think that's really going to be our downfall.
Yeah. Another thing that's going to be our downfall is that bullpen. It seems to be the same issue year after year that the bullpen lets us down. They let us down yesterday. Everybody let us down that we brought into the game after Aaron Nola lost it. And you got to put some of it on Aaron Nola as well. He lost his stuff there. He came into the game with a 0 ERA in the postseason, and he fell apart yesterday. The lights got a little too bright for him. I expect him to rebound, though. Aaron Nola is too good to not bounce back. And this Philly bullpen, Philly Rob's going to get them fired up and get on their butts here on this off day today. I'm sure they'll be fired up at practice, and they're going to be ready to play in front of this home crowd.
Series tied 1-1 right now, shifting scenes to another big playoff game that's been hitting the city of Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Union, top seed in the MLS, facing off against FC Cincinnati. Ryan, I know you're a big Union guy. What has been the vibe of this team the entire season, really dominating MLS play on both sides of the ball?
The Union just seem loose. They just seem like they're having fun. They're just a bunch of kids playing together as a team. They dominated DC United 7-0. They've scored 7 goals in multiple games this year. They've seemed like the top team all year. They're led by the goalkeeper of the year, Andre Blake. They play so loose and so like they're just having fun, and it just seems like it's not a competition to them. They're just out there playing rec soccer against these professional soccer clubs, and hopefully that keeps rolling. They struggled against FC Cincinnati earlier on in the season with a 3-1 loss. They're ending a big win streak that they had going, so it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back, especially at home in Chester. That stadium's going to be rocking, too. It was rocking during the regular season. The Sons of Ben, they're going to be fired up tonight.
And Sam, this team coming in off of a couple wins, going against a Cincinnati team that, as Ryan just said, they've kind of struggled in the last couple games. They have not beaten them in 2022 so far. What are you going to expect? It's a top defense against a solid offense that's still a young program. Is experience going to be a big play here?
100%. As you said, again, it's a young program, so they still do have a lot of time and potential for the future. But, just like Ryan was saying before, their defense has to really shape up.
Yes, and this FC Cincinnati squad, only their first few years in the MLS, and the big change, they went from one of the worst teams in the league to obviously making it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and a big part of that, hiring some former Union staff. Ryan, do you think that's going to be a little bit of a play in how they've been able to match up against the Union so far? Understanding schemes, understanding players, is that going to play a big role here in this game coming up?
I think it'll play a decent role. I don't know how big of a role, because obviously you play against a team, in most sports you'll play against a team that has former staff. Like you see in college football, you've got Jimbo Fisher, you've got Kirby Smart, who are former Alabama coaches under Nick Saban, and they haven't been able to beat him until last year. You saw Kirby Smart and you saw Jimbo Fisher break through and get wins. So obviously playing against your former staff is a big deal because you know a lot of the inner workings of that team. But ultimately, teams change things from year to year. They change things from game to game, formations, lineups, all that type of stuff. I think that it'll play a role, but not as big of a role as you expect this evening. And I think the Union walk away with the victory and move on to the finals, the conference finals.
Yep, and real quickly, let's get a score prediction here. Sam, what do you think the score is going to be?
Ooh. I think it's going to be a close game. I'm going to say 3-1.
I think I'm going to go again with 2-1 for the Union. And then Ryan?
I'm going to take a 2-0 Union win.
2-0 Union. We're all in on the Union here, all in on Philadelphia sports. Thank you guys for tuning in to House 67 Productions, Philadelphia Sports Roundtable. I'm Jason Fridge, joined by Ryan Chybinski, Sam Taddei. We'll see you guys next time.